Hi there, fifth grade. How are you doing? We're here on Tuesday, so congratulations to making it to Tuesday. Um, so just as a brief review of what we went over yesterday, we talked about when we should use more and most and less and least. And so up here on my smartboard, I have some comparisons. So I rang the bell softly, so that's a comparison of just, there's no comparison in that sentence. You rang the bell more softly. I could add than I, because if you ever see the word than, THAN, in a sentence, then you know that a comparison is coming. She rang the bell most softly than all of us. I could add that part to the end of it, or I could just leave it where I did. Now I look at I clapped my hands loudly. You clapped your hands less loudly. She clapped her hands least loudly of all. Basically, again, reminding you that the adverbs and adjectives that we use, that we pair up with more, most, less, and least, are adjectives and adverbs that are more than 2 syllables long. And sometimes you are going to have some 2-syllable words that require this. You're just going to have to say the word and see whether it makes sense for you to either add the ER, EST suffix or the more, most, less, least before it. Okay, now we're going to go into our new lesson, which is on page 243, so everybody open your books to that. We're looking for the special forms of good and bad. I'm going to read the yellow box before I get into the explanation of what's on my smart board. Good and well are often confused when used in sentences. Good is an adjective that describes a noun or pronoun. Well is an adverb that describes a verb. Now, here's the catch. Well is also used as an adjective when talking about someone's health. So only when you're talking about someone's health can you use well as an adjective. And so anyway, so kind of keep that in your mind. You're going to have to pay attention to your sentence. Know whether or not the nature of your sentence is talking about someone's health. If it's not, if it's talking about any other noun, you use good. And you use well only when you're using adverbs. Let's look at the adjective or the examples they give to you in the purple box. It says Arctic air is a good source of moisture-producing cold air. This good is used as an adjective modifying the word source. Second example, after being ill for 2 days, the Eskimo finally felt well. This is talking about the Eskimo's health, and so therefore well can be used as an adjective to describe the Eskimo. Third example, solar radiation reflects well from the dry winter snow. Okay, this tells you how it reflects, so therefore well is the adverb telling you how well it reflects. Top of the next column, the adjectives good and bad and the adverbs well and badly are irregular. Most adjectives and adverbs end in ER and EST or more and most. Irregular adjectives and adverbs change the spelling of the word when comparing. So let's look at the special forms of good and bad. And I actually have these up here on my board as well. So I'm going to scroll down and then I'll go back to my examples in a minute. So if you're comparing two things, you're going to use better. Good is for one. If all you're going to say is the noun that you're describing is good, you use good. Comparing two nouns, you're going to say better. Comparing 3 or more, you're going to say best. Then you have adverbs. And I did this down here. Oops, found a misspelling. And then adverbs are right here on my smartboard. And it says for comparing one verb, you're going to say well. If you're comparing 2, you'll say better. And if you're comparing 3 or more, you will say best. If you're going to compare things in the negative, you'll say badly, then you'll say worse, and you'll say worst. So keep that in mind, that unlike the other adjectives that we've talked about that can modify nouns and adverbs that modify actions, these are what we consider to be irregular words. So let's go back up here. We're going to first go to this example that I've put back up on the smartboard. Good is an adjective. It's going to describe a noun. So we prayed for good weather. It describes what kind of weather we prayed for. Good weather. So good is an adjective going to weather. Our school trip went well. Okay, this tells you how things went. So this is where well would be used as an adverb modifying the verb went, the action, a verb went. Then you have the third example. Our teacher did not feel well. This is talking about a person's health. So in this sentence, well is used as an adjective, and only in the instance of someone's health do you describe it as well. All right, so going back over what we just read, if you're going to compare an adjective either being in the positive or in the negative, then you're going to say good. The food was good. The weather was bad. 2, if you're going to compare two or more things, the food at the restaurant was better than the food at the other restaurant. So again, remember there's that word than. That again clues you in that there's a comparison. If I want to say the weather today was worse than yesterday, again, I'm comparing the weather of 2 days. Then if you're going to use 3 or more comparisons, then I would say that is the best restaurant of all, because I'm comparing it for more than 3 restaurants. And then worst, the weather today was the worst of all week. Okay, I'm comparing it over 7 days, and I'm going to say worst. So you have today's snowfall was good. Yesterday's snowfall was better than today's. Last month's snowfall was the best of all. Again, following the same thing, using these as adjectives. Today's ice storm was bad. Yesterday's ice storm was worse than today's. Last month's ice storm was worst of all. Okay, and then we have the same thing for adverbs, except there's a bit of a difference. And I want you to see that you use badly, and instead of, you use badly instead of bad in this case. So you obviously know that well is an adverb, so if you're comparing one thing, she played well, that would describe how she played, and it's the adverb modifying played. Badly, she played badly. Again, that's the adverb that modifies played. Then see that, so you see that up here, I'm sorry for the confusion, but instead of saying good, you're going to replace good with well, and bad with badly. Everything else stays the same. Better, worse, best, and worst, they're the same for both groups, adverbs and adjectives. It's only when you're comparing one thing that there is a difference in the words. 2, better and worse. 3 or more, best and worst. The comparative words better, worse, best, and worst are used for both adjectives and adverbs. Our new barometer works well. The new barometer works better than the old one. Our first barometer worked best of all. Fire badly burned Mr. Frank's orchard. The trees produced worse this year than last year. Last month, the Potomac flooded the worst it had in 25 years. So notice that for comparing anything from 2 to 3 and more nouns or action verbs, you use the same words. And then for the comparing of one, or just making the statement of the condition of one, you have different words. Well and badly for adverbs, and going all the way back up to adjectives, you have good and bad. So now I'm going to stop the video, and your sub is going to go over, I should say Mr. Boyd, is going to go over the guided practices on pages 243 and 244 with you before giving out your homework page. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask Mr. Boyd. And again, don't forget, we will go over all of this before I give any tests next week. Love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.